excited for his first trick-or-treating night without his parents, but he wasn't prepared for the unexpected guest. Hi, my name is Shar, and this is the And Other Stories podcast, where I read stories of the supernatural and criminal, both real and fictional. Works of fiction written by me. Trick or treat. I scraped the black face paint down my cheek, just like Rambo. Clicking the trigger makes the lights on my machine gun go crazy, and my mum to shout to keep it down. Where did my bandana go? Oh yeah, there on my bed. I can't tie that very well at the back of my head, so I run down the stairs, taking them two at a time. Skidding to a stop on the linoleum kitchen floor, I tried to get my mum's attention to tie this thing round my head. Mum, tie this! Please, she says, wiping her floured hands on her apron, taking her large glasses off her face so that they dangle on the chain that goes up and around the back of her neck. Her big old cookbook is propped open at the apple pie page. It is marked with all her scribbles, correcting the recipe. Mum's apple pie. Half-cut pastry is strewn across the worktops, and apples overflow in the colander. One has landed on the floor. I make a mental note to have a slice of pie when I get home. She urges me to keep still as I bounce up and down, far too excited to keep still. Not tonight. Tonight is the very first time Mum is letting me out trick-or-treating with my friends. Alone, no grown-ups. Nothing is visible out of the steamed-up kitchen windows. It got dark outside about an hour ago. This is the late-night shift, the time when the bigger kids go out round the houses. I rush through to the living room. My dad is smoking in his chair, watching the TV. He's put Freddy Krueger in the video player because we borrowed it from someone he knows at work. I already watched it loads of times after school this week, even though Mum said it's too scary. I wasn't scared, but my little sister couldn't sleep for days. It didn't even look real. It was funny. Look, Dad, look, check it out. And I set my machine gun clicking and flashing again. Where'd your mother get that thing? He said, glancing quickly to me then back to the screen. Newsagents. They've got loads of stuff in there. She got a mask for Ginny. It's cool. I pressed the trigger again. All right, out. I'm watching this. My father shooed me out of the room. And shut the door, you're letting the heat out. The whole movie is a dream, you know, I say through the crack in the door, causing him to throw in the newspaper at it. Laughing to myself, I go back to Mum. It must be nearly time now. I open my mouth to ask her what time it is when I hear the doorbell. I slam into the doorframe in my hurry down the hall, seeing her shape in white silhouetted across the frosted glass of the front door. I wrench it open and immediately point my gun at her. She stands, her feet wide, her fists on her hips, in a superhero pose, head to toe in white and gold. Tiffany, my best friend. Who are you supposed to be? I say, lowering my gun. I thought we were doing Rambo because we saw it at the cinema. I'm She-Ra, she said as her eyes rolled. It's the coolest. I got the She-Ra doll for my birthday, remember? Get your bag. I lurched to the stairs to grab my plastic bag, the big ones that Mum got from the supermarket, and shout, "Bye!" down the hall. I hear her coming out shouting about being careful, and I'd better say thank you, until the door slammed, cutting off her instructions. The wind cuts my cheeks, and bumps start all over my bare arms, but I don't care. The street is orange from the streetlights, the pumpkins, the decorations. As we run across the road, jostling each other for first place to the curb, little kids trot alongside their parents, pumpkin and cauldron buckets overflowing with sweets. I hope we haven't left it too late and all the good stuff is gone. I look at Tiffany and see her watching the kids too. She shakes her head a little. We should start at this end. The fancy houses are on that side, she says, pointing to the left, away from my house. I frown at her, but she doesn't notice. Fine, but let's get going. I want the proper-sized Mars bars, I say, voicing my fears. We run up to the first house on the left-hand side, both scuffling our feet along the pavements to try to get the leaves, but they had been there so long they'd either been blown away or stuck to the surface. The first house had an actual proper gate, fence and all, that had a stay out sign with a fake hand print of blood. The pathway that led up to the door was pristinely kept, with trimmed hedges and carefully placed, perfectly carved pumpkins. We never had pumpkins. My mum told me to carve a Swede. I had ignored her. Tiffany pulls her mask down onto her face as we approach their fancy porch. I adjust my bandana and lift up my gun to my chest, my empty plastic bag tucked under my arm. It would be full soon enough. "You ring the bell," she says, shoving me with her shoulder. I frown at her again, but she just tuts and stomps her foot. I sigh and go forward and press the bell, making sure to skip back several steps afterwards. My tummy is in knots. I don't know these people, and I don't have my mum. I'd never show it to Tiffany, though. I look at her with my best grown-up look, and then give her an angry Rambo face. She giggles. "Oh, look at you," says the woman who opens the door. She sounds like she's talking to a 5-year-old, so I give her a blast from my machine gun, and she puts her hand to her chest. "Gosh, that's very nice, dear." "Trick or treat!" Tiffany and I shout in unison, as if we had rehearsed. "Do you have a song or a joke?" The woman smiles encouragingly. Tiffany and I looked at each other. Why do some grown-ups always insist on a show? We weren't little kids anymore. Twinkle Twinkle Star just isn't cool anymore. I'm still wondering what to do when Tiffany puts on her girlish voice. "Knock, knock," she says. "Who's there?" says the woman, her voice back to talking to toddler's level. "Frank." "Frank who?" "Frank you for asking, it's me." The woman claps as if Tiffany had juggled fire standing on her head. I just glare at her. She's making us look like little babies. "And how about you, dear?" She looks at me hopefully. I just mumble and shake my head. A slight frown shows on the woman's face, but she still holds out her bowl half full of sweets for us to take, and we both shove our hands in at the same time, grabbing a whole handful and then running way back down the path. "What did you do that for?" "Do what?" "That stupid baby joke. Where did you get that from anyway?" "It was in the cracker last Christmas," she says with a shrug. "And that woman wanted us to be cute, like little kids. That's how you get the good sweets." "I don't care. We're on our own this year. We're the big kids. We don't do stupid songs and stuff." "Well, we might have to, so just deal with it." We argue as we gently shove each other and walk slowly to the next gate. I put my hand on the gate, stopping her from opening it, trying to make her stop with the cute stuff, when I feel someone standing there. We both stop bickering and turn toward the roadside of the pavement. A kid is standing there with his head down. His costume is just a simple black jumper and trousers, with a black cape tied around his neck and falling limp down his back. His face is all smeared in white, except for black smudging around his eyes, and what looks like red lipstick and a trail from the corner of his mouth. A standard vampire costume we'd all had at one point. In his hands he grips tightly to a brown paper bag. It is obviously empty, so I assume he has just started trick-or-treating too. But he is all by himself. He mumbles something and I have to lean toward him a little to hear him. "What did you say?" "Can I come with you?" he almost whispers. Tiffany and I give each other one of our looks. It was just supposed to be the two of us tonight. We know what we're doing. But this kid is so small, and he's all on his own. I look around again, trying to see if there's a grown-up or anyone. It's just him. Tiffany sighs and nods at me, pulling her mask back down again. "Okay, have you been out without your mum before?" "Yes," he says to the floor, so quietly it could have been a rustle of leaves. "Right, just keep up then, kid," I say, sort of enjoying the time the oldest here, so that makes me the boss. I lift my gun up again and set the lights and sounds going, but the kid doesn't even flinch. Frowning, I just turn and stomp up the path. Over the next few houses, we don't have any more of that song and joke rubbish. The people just seem to want to give us the sweets and go, which is fine with me. The new kid doesn't say anything. Even I can hear my mum's voice in my head telling me, "Say thank you." So I force out a surly thanks, and we move on. But the little kid just holds out his bag, waits for the sweets to drop in, before closing it slowly, always looking down at the floor. Tiffany and I argue and talk, and shout and whoop on our way down the street. We quarrel over who gets which chocolate bar, and we punch each other on the arm when the other won't relent. But the little kid just follows quietly behind us, his little brown bag still clutched tightly. I figure he's just shy. He must be having fun, he's got loads of sweets, and he doesn't show any sign of wanting to go home, so we just leave him be. "I knew we were too late," I moaned to Tiffany as we're nearing the end of the street. "What are you moaning about?" she says through a mouthful of caramel. "The big Mars bars, they've all gone. I haven't seen a single one." Tiffany just rolls her eyes at me as she skips up the path of the second last house. It doesn't look like many of the little kids had got this far. It's way up the far end of the street, and the streetlights are few and far between at this point. Our shadows lengthen and shorten as we walk under the orange glow, disappearing altogether in the dark patches in between. A few of the houses up here haven't decorated, and they retreat into the darkness in stark contrast to the warm brightness of pumpkin-covered porches. I follow Tiffany up the path and immediately ring the bell, now confident with my Rambo stance and fierce demeanour, nerves forgotten. An old woman answered the door with the usual surprise and delight, grasping a bowl still quite full of sweets. My greedy eyes search the bowl and see they are full-size bars, full-size chocolate bars. And there on the top I see it, the Mars bar. It was going to be mine, and I look at Tiffany with my best boss look. "Oh, wonderful. We haven't had many children here this evening. Do you have a song?" I sigh. I look straight at Tiffany again, trying to warn her, just with a look, to not dare say that baby stuff again, when I hear a quiet singing coming from behind me. "Half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel." We both look behind us and my jaw drops. He hasn't said anything all night, and here comes this nursery rhyme, so quiet I'm not sure the old woman would have even heard it. "That was lovely," comes the croaky voice of the old lady, as she reaches into the bowl and grabs the Mars bar with her wrinkled fingers. The little kid gently opens his bag and is dropped in there with a soft thud and crinkle. He closes it straight away and grasps it once more tightly to his chest. I can barely contain my rage as I wait for the lady to drop some chocolate in my bag, and I stomp away without even saying thank you, her startled face frozen, not closing the door. Tiffany jogs to keep up with me as I walk back onto the street and carry on going toward the end of the street, further into the darkness. "Tony, calm down. It's only a sweetie. We've got loads. Let's just go home now, and we can do swapsies." She must be feeling sorry for me, if she's offering swapsies. A minute ago she would have guarded her stash with her life. "No, let's keep going up here," I say, so angry that I want to show them who is boss, who is the oldest here, and who should be getting the full-size Mars bars. "The lights aren't even on. They don't want trick-or-treaters. It's too dark. I don't want to." "Tough. Let's go." The little kid just followed silently. Good. Maybe this will show him. I walk past a few houses. The windows are dark and the curtains are tightly drawn. This is obvious signalling that they don't want any kids. We've got no sweets, go away. But my anger fuels me, and I want to force them to open the door to me. It's Halloween, I'm a kid, and I want my sweets. Which one then? I turn and speak to my two companions. None of them, let's go home. Tiffany is starting to use her whiny voice. I know I don't have much time left before the fake tears start. I'm getting a bit cold now, and I'm starting to relent, when the little kid just raises his arm and points at this one house. It is right at the end of the street, and the lights are out, and the curtains are closed like all the others, but he just keeps pointing. I look at Tiffany and shrug. One more for the road? I say to her. I'm not sure what that means, but I heard my dad say it to my uncle when he's been at our place, and it's midnight, and the living room is foggy with cigarette smoke, and the grown-ups are far too happy. She sighs once more, and we start towards the house. When we reach the path, there is no gate. The grass grows up between the paving stones, and the bushes obscure half the walkway. The little kid is right behind us as we reach the steps of the porch, the paint peeling from the supports, and even one of the boards has been removed. This is my house. The breeze-like whisper of the little kid reaches from over our shoulders. This one is? I ask. He simply nods. My curiosity is strong as I ring the bell. This kid has been left by himself with no parent or friends, and his house isn't even decorated for Halloween. It looks like he's done his costume himself, and he barely speaks beyond a whisper. I want to see what his house is like inside. But the little kid shows no reaction, still looking down at the floor. The woman who comes to the door is not what I was expecting. I was expecting his mum to answer, to think it was her son coming home. However, this woman must be over 80 years old. Her face wrinkles and droops, and she shuffles along like she could not stay upright for very long. Maybe he lives with his grandma. She doesn't say anything. She simply stares at us with her clouded blue eyes, the warm glow of the hallway light spilling out over the old wooden porch. Tiffany and I just look at each other, and then I turn to the little kid, hoping he will take the lead with his grandma. The little kid is gone. He was right behind me not 1 second earlier, paper bag rustling, scuffing the worn wood with his feet, and now he's nowhere to be seen. I dart my eyes around the dark garden, and the leaves blow gently across the tall, unkempt grass. No living soul in sight. I look back quickly to the old lady, my mouth open as if to say something. She is smiling sadly. It's all right, she says, so weakly I can hardly hear her. He is gone, she confirms, confusing me more. He comes here every year, sometimes by himself, sometimes with other children. She turns slowly, shifting her feet beneath her by inches at a time. She reaches out a shaky hand to an unknown spot in her hallway and turns back to us, holding the item up. I see an old photo, grainy in black and white, of a small boy posing and beaming at the camera in shorts and shirt and jacket. My son died almost 40 years ago, but he still visits every year on Halloween. Halloween was his favourite. She trails off, her eyes pooling with water. I reach out to the photo as she offers it to me, holding it up so both Tiffany and I can see it. The face of the happy boy, the boy who looks so full of life and joy, the photo from so long ago, is the face of the little kid. We walk home quietly. We reach Tiffany's house first, and she peels off to open her gate, a quick glance to me and a soft smile. I walk across the road to my house, not paying attention to the route. It is so familiar to me. I am reaching out for the door when I almost trip over something on the front doorstep. The front security light clicks on as I wave at it to get more light. And there on the doorstep, scrunched at the top and heavy at the bottom, is the brown paper bag. I gently lift it and open the crinkled edges. There on top is the Mars bar. "We're going to miss all the good candy," I shout to my son. That's what the kids all call it nowadays, candy. I blame all the stupid YouTube videos. Rob comes bounding down the stairs 2 at a time, almost crashing into me, and gives me a blast of the machine gun in his hand, holding up the other which contains a camouflage bandana, jumping up and down, urging me to tie it. I take the machine gun and give it a go myself. "Not bad, eh? Good that Grandpa saved this. Great Rambo costume." "Who's Rambo?" he says with a wrinkle of his nose. "This is my Fortnite costume. Pew pew." I sigh. The characters might change, but the costumes stay the same. The excitement of a child on Halloween will always be like this. No matter how many computer games or movies come out, no matter what videos or streaming service is invented, the leaves will always fall, and the cold will always come. "Ready to go then?" "Yeah, let's go. Let's get candy." He charges out of the door, clicking his gun as he goes, until he pauses and turns back to me. "Dad, when can I go trick-or-treating by myself?" "When you're older, Rob. Much older," I emphasise, ruffling his hair until he ducks out from under my arm, straightening his bandana and racing across the street. I follow him at a stroll, always keeping him in sight, as I watch him run up the path of the house opposite. I stand at the gate and I see the owner open the door, their mouths showing the dreaded words, "Do you have a song?" and I chuckle at the loud groan of the kids at the door. I am still watching when a rustle behind me makes me turn, as if a wind had suddenly blown the leaves around my shoulders, and they were whispering to me. He stands there quietly, grasping his paper bag, his black cloak and white makeup the same as always. "Can I come with you?" "Of course you can, son. Of course you can." Thank you for listening. I hope you liked it. I am Shar, and this is the And Other Stories podcast. See you next time.